Welcome back, everybody. It's certainly good to be back. I hope y'all had a great weekend. Stayed hydrated, found you some shade, maybe listened to some Coldplay innocently. It's Monday, July 21st, 2025. Born on this date in 1915, bluesman Floyd McDaniel of Athens. Now, he was a singer, but also a prolific guitar player with many credits. Now, with the band Five Blazes, he helped back Sam Cooke for a bit in the 50s. It's National Junk Food Day. Let's not and say we did. Today, let's talk illegal immigration and concerns over another coal ash site. I'm Mike Morgan, and we're down in Alabama.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Between two-factor authentication, strong passwords, and a VPN, you try to be in control of how your info is protected. But many other places also have it, and they might not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for 40% off. Terms apply.
Alabama statistics are bearing out the effects of the federal government's crackdown against illegal immigration. AL.com's Sarah White's Kodacheck and Rebecca Griesbach report that the rate of arrests this year is double what it was in 2024. As of June 26th, 1,949 were arrested and alleged to be in the country illegally. In all of 24, there were only 1,823 such arrests. Now, of those arrested since Donald Trump became president, 596 are convicted criminals, and 1,095 more have pending criminal charges. That's a lot of work for the limited ICE presence in Alabama, so local deputies have been called in, said Alabama Sheriff's Association President Hall Smack. Quote, under the new administration, there's just simply been more resources allocated towards the overall immigration program. Now, what he's talking about are these 287G agreements between local law enforcement and the feds that have perhaps been used the most in the Mobile area, where the state's seen the most arrests. But 13 counties in all and one municipality in the state have joined that partnership. Well, you may have noticed that Mexican restaurants or Tex-Mex restaurants in the states often have very familiar names. For example, words such as fiesta and casa show up on a lot of nameplates. Now, a theory on that would be that a new Mexican eatery would like to land on a name that Americans recognize. And there are only so many Spanish words that both work as a name and mean something to a large part of the local clientele. Well, if you wanted an adjective for your restaurant, you're likely going with loco, for example. Across the U.S., there are an awful lot of loco places to eat. And it's such a name issue that has an owner of a restaurant chain wanting everyone to know that it wasn't among those that were rated last week, reports AL.com's Sarah White's Kodacheck. 14 businesses were rated last week across 6 Alabama counties as part of a long-term national investigation into human smuggling, drug trafficking, and financial fraud that resulted in the arrests of 40 people who were allegedly in the country illegally. WKRG reported that among the establishments that were raided was El Patron Mexican Grill and Cantina in Robertsville, which had Jesus Perez of El Patron Mexican Restaurant fielding some worried phone calls, he said. El Patron Mexican Restaurant has locations in Birmingham, Moody, Atala, Gadsden, and Trussville. Perez said, quote, please be advised that El Patron Mexican Restaurant is not in any way affiliated with or connected to the business currently in the spotlight. Also trying to clear its name was El Jefe, one of the places that were actually raided. El Jefe is located near the Auburn Opelika Mall. From the restaurant's Facebook page, quote, "There has been some confusion that the individual is still in this business with us. We are not associated with the individual and have not been since 2023. Now, that individual is Cesar Campos Reyes, who was a target of the raids and has pleaded not guilty to federal charges. He owned a number of establishments, including a restaurant at the location that later became El Jefe, which is, incidentally, not the only El Jefe in Alabama." The environmental group Earth Justice said Northeast Alabama may have the dirtiest coal ash site in the U.S., reports AL.com's Margaret Cates. Pardon me while I enunciate coal ash site so I don't get in any trouble. The site is where Widows Creek fossil plant operated until it closed 10 years ago. There are 4 ponds there containing coal ash that were closed and capped in 2018, and 2 more coal ash disposal sites at the plant. There's some question as to how many of the sites are releasing chemicals into groundwater and how much. An Earth Justice attorney used the word potentially to describe the site's effect on the environment based on the quantity of coal combustion residuals, and that the 4 legacy ponds are unlined and located along the Tennessee River. Plus, the Widows Creek plant has a history of coal ash violations. The attorney pointed to a 1993 finding by the state that area groundwater was contaminated with lead and other heavy metals. Scott Fiedler's a spokesman for the TVA, which operated the plant. He said, quote, "TVA will continue to perform necessary and appropriate investigations and compliance actions, including actively monitoring our sites in accordance with state and federal regulations." Well, thank y'all so much for listening to us. We're going to be back here again tomorrow. Until then, y'all come see what we're doing anytime you can on the internet at AL.com.